guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I'm doing it again. I'm making something miniature, and I'm making my mini pumpkin pies. And normally I give you a spiel of why I'm gonna make the pumpkin pie into a miniature version or anything into a miniature version. No excuse, folks. Just felt like doing it. They're so cute, and it's really fun to serve something miniature if you're having like a potluck or if you're having a cocktail party around the holidays. Whatever you fancy. If you're having a sleepover with your friends, if you want to make miniature things, and you know, it's pumpkin pie, miniature form. Who can argue with that? Now we're going to start off with the ingredients you'll need for the actual pie crust, because we're going to make my homemade pie crust, and it's really easy. You'll need just a handful of ingredients, such as all-purpose flour, salt. I've got a mixture here of cold unsalted butter and some vegetable shortening. They got to be really nice and cold, and some cold water. That's it. I mean, it really is easy. And because I'm making a double batch, technically it's like 2 9-inch pie crusts, I'm going to make it in my standing mixer because my food processor is just too small. So now I'm going to take my flour and salt, throw them right into my standing mixer, into the bowl of my standing mixer, I should say. And I have mine fitted with a paddle attachment. And look at this. Look at it. Look at it. There's no flour on the counter. That never happens. I'm going to add my cold fats, and it's really important that they're cold, otherwise you're not going to get a very flaky pie crust. Pop them in there, and now I'm just going to mix this together until my fats and my butter and my shortening are mixed throughout the flour really nicely, and they break down to a little bit more. Now at this point, I'm going to start drizzling in some really cold water. You'll need a mix between, I would say, 5 to 8 tablespoons of water. You might need a little bit more, you might need a little bit less, so that's why I do a little bit at a time, and then I stop when I can pinch my dough together and it's kind of holds. That's when you know you're done. Okay, my dough looks awesome. I can still see the bits and pieces of butter and shortening running through, which is going to mean that we're going to get a really flaky pie crust. I've got a couple pieces of plastic wrap laid out in front of me. I'm going to take my dough, I'm going to divide this in half, because I'm going to form 2 discs and pop this into the fridge, because I want my dough, they don't have to be perfectly equal, by the way, because we're not doing a top and a bottom. It's just that it makes it easier if there are 2 separate pieces rather than one big piece. This needs a chance to rest in the fridge for a bit, a good 45 minutes. So I'm just forming these into discs. So you can see they're sticky, but they're not so wet that it's like kind of like running all over your hands. So I'm just forming them into a disc, and now I'm going to pop these into the fridge for about 45 minutes, and then we will make our filling, and then we'll pretty much be ready to pop them in the oven. That's it. For the filling, you're going to need some pumpkin puree, some light cream or half and half. I've got some granulated sugar and pumpkin pie spice, some brown sugar, and a couple of eggs. Now, traditionally, you don't use brown sugar and you use like evaporated milk to make pumpkin pie, but last year, a friend of mine gave me a tip to use light cream or half and half and a little bit of brown sugar, and it just makes it a little richer, and it's, I mean, why not? It's a season to get things a little richer, you know, so might as well go for it. So I'm going for it. It's that simple. I'm going for it. And it's really easy. You basically just dump everything into this. I'm using like a measuring cup, a really big measuring cup, but you can use a bowl, of course. I've got my pure pumpkin puree, my light cream, or you could use half and half, my pumpkin pie spice and granulated sugar. And how easy is this, right? Brown sugar and my eggs. And now all I'm going to do with my whisk is mix everything together until combined. I got one of my pieces of dough here. My filling is done. I also have one of my muffin tins just sprayed with some nonstick spray. I'm most likely going to use 2, so I have another one waiting for me back there. And now I'm ready to start getting things, you know, rolling. But first, get your oven preheated to 425. I've already done that. And now I like to work with 1 piece at a time and keep the other piece in the fridge until I need it. That way, the butter and the shortening stays nice and cold. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to flour my surface, of course. Gotta do that, super important. And I'm gonna roll this out to like a 1/4 inch thick circle. It'll be about, I would say, 10 inches or so. Here's a tip though. warm up the dough a little bit with your hands or take it out of the fridge about 10 minutes before you're ready to use it, because sometimes when your pie crust dough is really, really cold, it tends to break up a little bit. And if that happens, regroup it and then re-roll it. It's not that big of a deal. So I just like to warm it up with my hands, make sure my surface is floured. And now I'm just going to roll this out with my rolling pin till it's about 1/4 inch thick. And then I just take a biscuit cutter that's 4 inches round. You could use any kind of cutter. It doesn't have to be a biscuit cutter. And then I just cut out my little circles. And you can see I'm leaving a little bit of space in between, and I'll show you why in just a second. But I'm just going to get these cut out. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then of course I'm going to regroup everything up before, and then re-roll and do it all over again. And then you just take your little muffin tin that you have prepared, and then you just push it in there like so. Now before I regroup my scraps here, I've got some little cookie cutters here, whatever you want to call them, and they're different shapes. Like one's an acorn, one's a leaf, like a little apple, pumpkin. And all I'm going to do is cut out these little shapes and set them aside until I'm actually going to flour this little area right here until I need them. So I like to cut out as many as I've got. Like I've got already 7 here, so I'm going to cut 7 little whatever these are. That way I don't forget that I need to, because it can come to a point where I've got all my little circles cut out and then I got no dough left, and it's like, what am I gonna do? You don't have to do this, but they just look really cute. So I like to just stay on top of it. That way I don't panic when it comes to the end. I've got all my pie crust rolled out. I've got my little toppers ready here. My other muffin tin, I always want to call it baking sheet, is sitting and waiting back there. And now I'm going to fill these babies up, and I use an ice cream scoop, handy dandy little ice cream scoop, because it's really easy. And then literally all you do is scoop them in there, see? And it fills each one perfectly. I've got both of my muffin tins ready and filled. Now just a quick heads up, the batter, like the filling, the pumpkin filling, makes enough for like 4 dozen of these little pies, but you can cut the recipe for the filling in half, and then that way you'll have the perfect amount for what you need. Now I like to do a double batch, well, a full batch of the filling, because I like to keep the filling, and I take little scraps of my pie crust between today, and I'll be baking tomorrow, and then I have enough to make another pumpkin pie. So that's my spiel. I'm sticking with it. I'm going to pop these into my oven at 425 for 10 minutes, and then I'll show you the next step. My little mini pies were in the oven at 425 for 10 minutes, and now I just turned the oven down to 350, and now at this point, you're ready to top them with your little toppers. You don't have to do this. I just like it because it looks really cute. There's no other purpose. But I do it at this point because otherwise they kind of sink into the batter, and I don't want that. So you can see now they just sit beautifully on top, and they're going to develop beautiful color, and that is what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to top each one, and then I'll pop them back into the oven at 350, and they'll be in there for about 20 minutes or so, or until they are completely done. And I'll show you what they look like when they're done, because they do need to cool as well. So I'm going to pop these on here, and then I'll throw them in the oven. I won't throw them, I'll just place them gently. These babies were in the oven for the second time at 350 for 25 minutes, and then I let them cool on the counter just to room temperature about half an hour, and then I popped them in the fridge to cool completely, and they are done. They're beautiful, and look how easy they just pop right out. Look at that. I mean, if that's not really, if that's not cute, I don't know what is. That's not cute. Hashtag, if that's not cute, I don't know what is. Pie in my mouth. That. Just, I mean, it's delightful. It really is. It's easy. They're simple. They're delicious. And they need to be at one of your holiday gatherings this year, because who wouldn't want to show up with these? I know I would. And I think you will too. Go to lauramthekitchen.com to get the full written recipe. I hope you enjoy spending time with me. And don't forget, if you made these, share a picture. I always love seeing your recreations. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!